And I also feel like it just prepares you for real life because your boss might tell you something that you don't want to hear. And then it's up to you to say, well, I decided to get fired today. Or I decided to step up, maybe get that promotion. Who knows? But you still have to come to work and you still have to do it.
Listen, son, you got me scratching my head, scratching my ear. I'm like just so right. I'm deeply. I'm like deeply moved by your answers and how you really do think and feel.
Thank you.
It's not that I'm discrediting who you are because I know you're an amazing young man, but to really sit down and hear this level of feedback,
Yeah.
it does my heart well. Wow. Do you feel like that sometimes you may disappoint me or have disappointed me? Or do you have a fear of disappointing me?
To answer your second question, yes.
You have a fear?
Yeah.
What could you do to disappoint me?
Not reach my fullest potential. Like I feel like, you know, failure can sometimes be the biggest motivator, but it can sometimes be what hinders you.
The fear of failure?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
yeah. The
Okay.
fear of failure can sometimes be the biggest motivator, but it can also be what holds you back because you're scared to take those risks.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like me not reaching who I want to be, my fullest potential, who God wants me to be, more importantly. But me not doing that, you know, kind of discredits all the work that you put in on me. Because like you said, you had me sit down for 5 to 10 minutes. She not exaggerating that. Like I would watch the clock, and as soon as I seen 10 minutes, I was running and go see where everybody is. So I'm like, I'm back, I'm out. Let's do it, let's go. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Like all that work you put in, for me, not to yield something great out of it, I feel like would be discrediting all that work that you did. So disappointment does sometimes come to my mind.
That's a fair assessment. And I think sometimes as parents, we want to be careful with the words that we use and what we say, right? And I'll tell you why. Sometimes we don't want to say, hey, you can never disappoint me, because we don't want our children not to actually try, or they become real laid back and casual about how they navigate life. And then there's sometimes we want to say, hey, you really are a disappointment, because we don't want to crucify and kill them and their character and their aura. We don't want that energy to be on them or in them. Like we want to speak words of encouragement, empowerment to our children. So what I will say to you, don't worry about disappointing me.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't disappoint yourself.
Yeah.
That's what the focus is. And I love how you said, more importantly, not to disappoint God. I think one of the things that I always tell you is, William, go through the process, because you want things right away. Sometimes you want immediate results, but it's the process. And I know, and listen, he might tell us to edit this part. I'm not sure. I know sometimes you get frustrated because you feel like you're not making headway, but you are. And this life that we're navigating, that we're living in, it doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take process. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take lessons. Sometimes we call those lessons failures, but those are lessons and opportunities, right? Don't be afraid to learn lessons. And when we learn lessons, a lot of times the lessons come because something else did not work out. And he always has a plan.
He definitely does.
And his plan is not our plan.
Yeah.
Okay?
No,
those are two different plans a lot of times.
Yeah.
And that's why we always have to consult him about what his plan is, and not tell him his plan, but truly ask him, What's your plan?
Yeah, what's your will? Let your will be done.
Let your will be done.
Yeah.
So you answered the question about the fear of possibly disappointing me. So do you think that there is a time that you have disappointed me?
Um, maybe, and I don't think a lot of people know this story. I know for sure a lot of people don't know this story, but my freshman year of college, fall camp, I think it was third practice. Uh, going through a drill. I'm a freshman, and one of the upperclassmen they decided to try to test me, see what I was made of, and so he did. We ended up getting a little scuffle, nothing too big, but I decided to walk off the field, and I walked off the field, went to the locker room, took all my stuff off, and then went to my dorm, and I remember calling you crying. And that was one of the moments I felt like I not only disappointed myself because I know the type of work I put in to get there, but also disappointed you because I know the sacrifices you made to get me there also. So that was one of the moments in my life I felt like I disappointed you.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
I forgot about that story.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I wasn't disappointed in your decision. Do you know what I was disappointed in?
Like that I gave up.
You gave up on yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I know the sacrifice. Don't listen, my sacrifice as a parent, those are things I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because you didn't ask to be here. I'm a parent, right? I support, I encourage, I give to help you become better. But I also know there were plenty of parties you didn't go to because you were training, you were practicing. There was plenty of times you wanted to hang out with your friends and you did not because you were training, you were practicing. He's one of the most focused individuals that I know. There are adults that I know that have not been as focused as you have been as a child and as a teenager on your football path, right? Mm-hmm. So I was more so disappointed in you giving up on yourself. So no, I was not disappointed for any other reason. Let me use this to my advantage.
Okay. Where we trying to go?
What have you been afraid to share with me as your parent? Possibly afraid. Not saying that you haven't, but something you may have been on the fence about sharing with me.
Oh no. I feel like us as a family, especially what we call the Fantastic Four, I feel like we're kind of all out there, telling everything. I think we're all kind of closely knit, but so I don't feel like there's been a thing that I was scared to tell you.
Yeah, I will say that y'all do pretty much talk to me about things that I want to hear about and things I don't necessarily want to hear about. But I am grateful that you find me a safe place to share. Sometimes I got to go in my room, put my head in my pillow and scream, but but I'm glad y'all shared it and found it not robbery to let me find out about stuff through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Will you say that the way that we actually communicate with each other has changed over time? I think so.
So, growing up, you used to always say, I'm your parent, I'm not your peer. But I feel like
I'm not your parent. I'm your parent, not your peer.
Yeah. But I feel like, the older we get, the more that relationship starts to kind of change. And we still know that you are a mom, but the relationship kind of changes because now we see more, so we can kind of understand a little bit more. We're maturing, so you can have more mature conversations with us, and we can have that with you too, because we understand certain things that we didn't understand when we were little. So.
Absolutely. That's very fair. That's fair. I'm going to ask a question that I normally would just ask in private.
Okay.
Because one thing I don't like sometimes, and this is just a personal thing, right? Sometimes I don't like when people ask stuff in front of the world
Yeah.
that they should ask in private. Or it's like, why did you wait to ask this in public? Why you couldn't ask this in private, right? Yeah. I'm real big about private conversations because I feel like a lot of things come out in private that wouldn't come out in public. And I wanted to share that disclaimer to let you all know that this definitely is coming from a sincere place, from a pure place. And I'm asking because sometimes we fail to have certain conversations with our children, especially when they get older. You know, some parents check out when their child is 18. They feel like, okay, I got you to 18.
My job is done.
My job is done. But no, they still have a transition period on going from child to adult, right? So my question to you is, as an adult child now, what is a way that I can show up to support you better? In other words, what do you need? What do you need, if anything, as a grown-up? What more do you need from me that I may have not shown up and given?
I really don't know. I feel like this is not the call you parent of the year. I feel like you do a great job of being a parent. I don't really feel like you haven't been there for me. I feel like you've been there more than a lot of other people have been. So I don't feel like there's another way you could show up for me. The first thing that came to my mind was patience, but but then I started thinking like, well, sometimes you need to get that push because sometimes you just need to get it done. You don't need to let it stack up because that's what being an adult is, getting your responsibilities done, even though you don't feel like doing it.
I hear you though. I hear you. I accept your feedback. But when patience came to mind for you and when you articulated to me, I also hear William is extending me grace, and that's phenomenal. However, I believe the reason that you said patience is because there are certain things that you are and have attempted to navigate that they require me to be a little bit more patient, especially with us making transitions as a family on some of the household dynamics that have changed. Sometimes when we go through something, we don't realize it's not just us going through that. The other person is going through it as well. And while you are, you meaning me or whoever else is now embracing that new normal, we can't forget that our children, adult or younger, are now accepting and having to embrace and transition and navigate and learn the newness of that new normal. So you're right. There have been times I could have afforded a little bit more patience to you, especially when you were trying your best to carry your load and its capacity in order to make sure I didn't feel overwhelmed. So I get it.
Yeah, but I'm a procrastinator.
I know.
So a lot of that frustration came from, well, why'd you wait so long to tell me? You feel me? So it's kind of, I had to kind of bite the bullet and say, you know what? I understand why she feeling like this. Just to also just give you a little bit more grace because I also was doing my part, so I can't be too mad.
I get it. Yeah. I get it. And William is the type that when he was younger, he would have a project due.
Oh my God. That was
the project would be due the next day, and William comes telling me at 7:59 p.m.
She's not lying.
Mama, I got a project due tomorrow. I'm like, what?
She's not lying.
How long have you had this project?
She is not lying.
And it's due tomorrow? Do you know the dollar store's about to close? So now I got to go to Walmart.
or permission slips.
All of that. I don't keep cash on me, but he needs $25 to take to school the next day. So yes, you have been a procrastinator all of your life.
Yeah.
We working on that though, right?
Oh, for sure. I try to get stuff done fast, quick, and in a hurry. No.
I love it. I love it. What do you wish parents overall would understand more about their adult children?
I wish parents would, I don't know what I'm trying to say or how I'm trying to say it, but you know how you get a teacher and the teacher gives you a lot of homework and you often say, well, did they forget how they felt when they were a student? So I kind of wish parents remember how they felt when they were going through that transition period too.
That is a great example.
Yeah.
Honestly. Don't, and I think sometimes we remember, but we don't extend the grace. We sometimes remember how we were at that age, and because we were that way at that age, or sometimes people be like, well, I was never like that at their age. We don't extend that grace.
Yeah.
One, because we never navigated in that concept or in that way. And then sometimes because we do know how it was, we try to tell you, our children so that they can learn from our mistakes. But our parents try to teach us too. And sometimes I say experience is the best teacher.
That's the truth.
So I get it. But that was a very good, that was a very good concept and analogy.
Thank you.
Pat on my back again.